For over 2 decades, one name has had the world completely captivated: Paris Hilton. When you hear that name, you probably think of a whirlwind of pink velour, tiny dogs in designer bags, and a catchphrase that basically defined an era. That's hot. You think of the original influencer, a socialite who seemed to be famous, well, just for being famous. We all saw the paparazzi flashes, the reality TV shows, and the tabloid headlines, and we thought we had the full picture. But what if that was all an act? What if the ditzy, vocal-fried blonde persona wasn't the real Paris Hilton at all, but was actually the most brilliant and underestimated marketing strategy of the 21st century? Because while we were all distracted by the character she created, the real Paris Hilton was in boardrooms. She was signing deals, building a global business empire, and quietly becoming one of the most successful celebrity entrepreneurs in history. And no, this isn't the story of an heiress who just inherited a fortune. In fact, her grandfather, Baron Hilton, famously announced he would donate 97% of his multi-billion-dollar hotel fortune to charity, a decision that meant the family wouldn't simply be inheriting the empire. This is the story of how Paris Hilton built her own fortune, a self-made empire with total brand sales reportedly surpassing $4 billion over its lifetime. This is the story of how she used our own assumptions against us, turned her persona into a product, and built a dynasty that stretches from fragrances and fashion to media and even her own upcoming hotel line. The story of Paris Hilton's business empire is definitely not what you think. To really get the genius of Paris Hilton's business strategy, you have to go back to the early 2000s. It was a weird, transitional time. The internet was still young, social media was just a sparkle on the horizon, with sites like MySpace, and a new kind of entertainment was taking over TV, reality television. It was the perfect incubator for her first and most important product, the Paris Hilton character. Alongside her childhood friend Nicole Richie, she starred in The Simple Life, a show that dropped 2 wealthy socialites into the middle of a rural American town. It was an instant cultural phenomenon. At the center of it all was Paris, playing the part of a clueless, out-of-touch, but somehow charming, dumb blonde. With her high-pitched baby voice and signature catchphrases, she became an icon overnight. The world was hooked, and often laughing at her, not realizing she was the one telling the joke. This was no accident. It was a calculated brand identity. Paris understood, way earlier than most, that in this new creator economy, attention was the most valuable currency. She wasn't just a person on a reality show. She was the show. Every paparazzi photo, every tabloid cover, every nightclub appearance was free marketing. She pioneered the art of being famous for being famous, a label people used to dismiss her, but which was, in truth, a revolutionary business model. She was building brand equity with every single headline. Long before Instagram or TikTok, she was a master of personal branding. She was one of the first celebrities to really embrace fan culture, calling her followers her little Hiltons and talking to them directly. She basically invented the selfie, turning the camera on herself way before front-facing cameras were even a thing. She was building a direct-to-consumer relationship, and the product she was selling was a lifestyle, a fantasy of glamour, fun, and unapologetic femininity. Critics wrote her off as a frivolous party girl, an overexposed celebrity. They saw the surface, the persona, and just assumed that's all there was. They completely missed that the character she was playing on TV was the foundation of a meticulously built business plan. She was building a global audience, creating a character that was instantly recognizable, and setting the stage to sell them something more than just a catchphrase. The persona wasn't who she was. It was the Trojan horse for the empire she was about to build. In 2004, right at the peak of The Simple Life's popularity, Paris Hilton made her first huge leap from media personality to full-blown entrepreneur. It wasn't a fashion line or a production company. It was a bottle of perfume, and it would become the financial engine of her entire empire. She launched her first fragrance, Paris Hilton for Women, with the manufacturer Parlux. The strategy was simple but incredibly effective. For years, she had sold the world a fantasy lifestyle. Now, for about $40, you could literally buy a piece of it. The perfume wasn't just a scent. It was an affordable ticket into the world of Paris Hilton. It was bottled aspiration. The launch was an absolute blockbuster. Demand was so insane it completely overwhelmed the initial supply. But Paris didn't just stop at one. What came next was a relentless and pretty much unprecedented expansion. A second fragrance, then a third, then a men's cologne. Today, she has around 30 fragrances to her name, creating a huge portfolio of scents for a global market. And this is where we see the first clear sign of her sharp business mind, the licensing model. Paris Hilton didn't build factories or manage complicated supply chains. Instead, she licensed her name and image to a company, Parlux, that knew how to produce and distribute fragrances. In this model, the licensee takes on the financial risk of making and marketing the product, while the licensor Paris gets a royalty on every single sale. It's a low-risk, high-reward strategy that allows for massive growth, and she absolutely mastered it. The results are just staggering. Since 2004, the Paris Hilton fragrance line has reportedly generated revenues of nearly $3 billion. Let that sink in. Not million, billion. This makes it one of the most successful celebrity perfume empires in history, often ranked second only to the legendary Elizabeth Taylor. While contemporaries like Jennifer Lopez and Britney Spears also had massive success in the fragrance world, Paris's longevity and the sheer number of her releases put her in a league of her own. This wasn't a fluke. It was a deliberate, long-term plan. When asked why she had so many scents, she gave a market-savvy answer. The fans want more, so we have to meet their demands. I might have 100 one day. She understood supply and demand, brand loyalty, and the power of constantly innovating within a category that worked. The world might have been watching the socialite, but a titan of the fragrance industry was being born one bottle at a time. So, while everyone was obsessing over her catchphrases and her party girl lifestyle, Paris Hilton was quietly building a multi-billion-dollar fragrance dynasty. And we're just getting started on her business playbook. If you're finding this as fascinating as I am, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe, because the next stage of her global expansion shows a strategic mind that almost everyone missed. With the fragrance empire printing money and giving her a solid financial base, Paris kicked off the next phase of her master plan, global diversification. She took the Paris Hilton brand she'd so carefully built and applied that same successful licensing model to a whole new range of products. She was going from fragrance mogul to global lifestyle brand. The expansion was methodical. It began with products that were a natural fit for her public image: handbags, accessories, and a shoe line full of stilettos and platforms. Then came cosmetics, skincare, and clothing lines. She even launched hair extensions, letting fans literally copy her signature look. Pretty much anything that fit the glamorous, fun, sliving lifestyle, her trademarked mashup of slaying and living was a potential product. But the real genius here wasn't just what she was selling, but where she was selling it. While her media fame was biggest in the US and Europe, her business focus shifted aggressively overseas. She opened dozens of standalone Paris Hilton retail stores, not in LA or New York, but in the Middle East, Asia, and Latin America. By the late 2010s, there were reportedly around 45 to 50 Paris Hilton stores in countries all over the world. You could walk into a mall in Dubai, the Philippines, or Colombia and step right into her world. These weren't just aisles in a department store. They were fully branded experiences. The strategy was brilliant. Target markets where her brand of American glamour had huge appeal and way less competition. This global retail footprint is one of the most overlooked parts of her business. She has 19 different product lines that have reportedly contributed to her company's lifetime global sales of over $4 billion. She didn't just slap her name on stuff. She built an international retail and distribution network through smart licensing partnerships. This strategy protected her from the ups and downs of fame in any one country. While the American media might have moved on to the next it girl, her stores in Saudi Arabia or Brazil were still ringing up sales. She had successfully detached her income from the whims of the Hollywood news cycle. The dumb blonde from The Simple Life was now the face of a global retail operation, proving once again that her business brain was far more sophisticated than her persona ever let on. As the 2010s rolled on and the culture she once ruled started to change, Paris Hilton did what all great entrepreneurs do. She evolved. Instead of fading out, she pulled off a brilliant pivot, reinventing herself for a new decade, and, in the process, taking back control by shifting from a licensor to an owner. Her first big reinvention was a surprise: music. Not singing this time, but DJing. She launched a career as a professional DJ, a move that a lot of people initially laughed at. But, once again, the critics were wrong. She took it seriously, trained hard, and quickly became one of the highest-paid celebrity DJs in the world, reportedly earning up to $1 million for a single set during her peak at major festivals and clubs in places like Ibiza and Shanghai. This wasn't a hobby. It was a highly profitable, multi-million-dollar business that cleverly kept her brand tied to the high-energy party scene she always represented. But her most important evolution was launching her own media company, 1111 Media, in 2021, with industry veteran Bruce Gersh. This was the ultimate power move. For 2 decades, she had been the talent, licensing her name to others. With 1111 Media, she became the house. 1111 Media is a full-blown entertainment company built for the modern creator economy, connecting content, community, and commerce. It's the central hub for the entire Paris Hilton universe. It has a TV division that produces her shows like Cooking with Paris for Netflix and Paris in Love for Peacock. It has an audio division, London Audio, that co-produces her podcasts with iHeartRadio. There's a digital arm managing her ventures into the metaverse, like Slivingland on Roblox, and her investments in NFTs. And crucially, there's a licensing division that now manages her multi-billion-dollar portfolio of consumer products. The company even has an impact division focused on social causes. This is the end game. Why license your TV show to a network when you can produce it yourself? 1111 Media allows Paris to own her narrative, control her intellectual property, and vertically integrate her businesses. The company signs partnerships with major brands and even has a fund to support female entrepreneurs. She's no longer just a celebrity. She's a media mogul, the CEO of her own diversified corporation, with a level of ownership she's been working toward for over 20 years. With a global product empire locked down and a media company to guide it, the final chapter of Paris Hilton's business story is maybe the most poetic. It brings her full circle, back to her roots, and transforms her public identity to secure a legacy that's about way more than just money. The Hilton name, of course, means hotels. It's her great-grandfather Conrad Hilton's legacy. For years, Paris was the heiress who seemed to have nothing to do with the family business. But now, she's announced plans to launch her own line of Paris-branded luxury hotels, with eyes on cities like Dubai, New York, and Las Vegas. This is a huge symbolic move. After building her own fortune completely separate from the family inheritance, a fortune her grandfather's will had largely directed to charity anyway, she's now re-entering the hotel industry on her own terms. She's not inheriting it, she's building it. This isn't just about real estate, it's about reclaiming her heritage and proving she's a hospitality entrepreneur in her own right. But the most significant shift in the Paris Hilton brand has nothing to do with business. It's her activism. In 2020, she released the documentary This is Paris, where she revealed for the first time the horrific abuse she suffered as a teen at so-called troubled teen reform schools. She described being handcuffed, taken from her home, and subjected to physical and emotional abuse. That raw vulnerability shattered the perfect life persona she had kept up for 2 decades. It was a massive risk, but it completely changed how the public saw her. The character was gone, and a real person, a survivor, emerged. This authenticity became her new brand. She turned her pain into purpose, becoming a powerful advocate for reforming the troubled teen industry. She has lobbied on Capitol Hill and has been a key force behind the passage of new laws in multiple states and the federal Stop Institutional Child Abuse Act. Through the impact arm of 1111 Media, she now works with organizations to fight for children's rights. This activism isn't a side project, it's a core part of her identity. It's earned her a level of respect her socialite persona never could. This is the final, most brilliant pivot. After mastering the art of a manufactured persona, she found that the most powerful brand of all is being real. By sharing her trauma and fighting for others, she's building a legacy that will outlast any trend. The story of Paris Hilton's business empire is a masterclass in modern branding, strategic pivots, and the art of being constantly underestimated. She started by creating a character so convincing, the whole world thought it was real. She used the attention that character got to launch a fragrance, using a low-risk licensing model that became the blueprint for her empire. From there, she's scaled up and diversified, taking her brand global to insulate her business from the whims of celebrity culture. As the world changed, she changed with it, pivoting into a multi-million-dollar DJ career and, most importantly, consolidating her power by launching 1111 Media, transforming herself from talent to owner. And finally, she has embraced her most authentic self, using her platform to fight for change and coming full circle with plans to build her own hotel empire. For 20 years, a lot of people laughed. They saw a caricature and dismissed her. But they were missing the point. Paris Hilton was never the butt of the joke. She was writing it, directing it, and producing it. She understood the power of perception and used our assumptions as her greatest asset. The best trick Paris Hilton ever pulled was convincing the world she wasn't in on the joke. Turns out, she was writing the punchline the entire time, building a multi-billion-dollar empire, one that's hot at a time. What part of Paris Hilton's business journey surprised you the most? Was it the insane scale of her fragrance empire or her modern work as a media mogul and activist? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy deep dives into the businesses behind the biggest names, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching.